So, our Japanese automotive customers often ask us about the difference between a virtual machine and container. My name is Taichi from BTC Japan, and I'm happy to talk about this question today with my colleague Thabo from Germany.
Hello.
So Thabo, with more things in the cloud, there has been a lot of buzz about containers. I understood them to be something like a virtual machine, but smaller?
Well, that's actually pretty close. So from a technological perspective, a container is like a virtual machine, but the virtualization happens on a different level. So for a VM or virtual machine, in both cases you have a server or PC as the host, and for the VM there's a hypervisor that separates the applications from the physical resources. And the VMs can run on top of that, and each VM it's like a virtual PC, so it has its own resources, it has an operating system and a bunch of applications.
So how are containers any different? They also run on a host PC, right?
True, but instead of using a hypervisor as the intermediate layer, the container directly shares the kernel of the host operating system. And this allows the container to be super lightweight because it doesn't have its own operating system. And because it's so super lightweight, you can now package each application into its own container without having any considerable overhead.
Okay, so an application inside a container is only a tiny bit bigger than the application itself.
That's correct, yeah.
But why would I run the application inside a container then, instead of just running it directly on the host?
Well, you do that to have proper isolation. And a container is basically the smallest way to package an application, an executable application, including the libraries it needs. And even though the container shares the host's kernel, it gets its own file system, it gets its own network, and you have full control over what the application inside a container can access.
That is indeed an interesting concept. But why did containers become so popular all of a sudden?
They became so popular because they perfectly match the needs of the cloud users. In the cloud, you pay per use, so to minimize the cost, you need to minimize the required resources. And due to their lightweight nature, containers fit very well to this requirement. You can really start up a container in a second, and you don't need to prepare any complex collection of applications. So you can really spin up a container on demand and destroy them once you don't need them anymore. And coming back to your initial assumption, simply put, you can really say containers, they are like VMs but smaller, and because of the fact that they are smaller, they can be used in a broad range of scenarios, and yeah, that doesn't grip your wallet too tightly then.
Very nice. I'm excited to see how this impacts to the workflows that we are used to. Thank you, Thabo.
Yeah, it was a pleasure, Taichi, and thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like, follow us on LinkedIn or YouTube for more videos.